Morning, everyone. Hope everybody had a good Easter this last week and was able to spend some time with your friends and family. As always, seem to have a fair amount of stuff going on today. This morning I'm running over to a shop there in Etna to pick up our side-by-side. I took it over there last week to get some work done on the clutches, and it's done. We're gonna grab it and bring it home. Then we're trying to get some more farming done today because we've got some storms coming in, I think tomorrow afternoon. And we'd like to get a fair amount of this hay ground drug before it starts raining on us, and it's even calling for a little bit of snow. So it'd be nice to get a good amount of that done. And as always, we've got cows to feed, calves to check on, and I got to run up to our association's corrals up Jackknife and do some measurements, because we'd like to put in some new corral sections out of pipe and that continuous fence. So we're gonna go up there and do some measuring and see how much we need to get coming this way. Today's supposed to be a really nice day, and part of tomorrow. Then those storms are supposed to start showing up tomorrow afternoon. Still getting pretty chilly in the morning around here. Had frost again this morning, and that's pretty normal for this time of year. There's frost in the morning, and then nicer days as the sun gets out. You can see these hay fields, these alfalfa fields right here in front of our house. We got these drug last week, and nothing's really starting to sprout up out of here yet. Maybe there's a little alfalfa starting to come up. We see in this one here behind our house, there's a little bit more grass in sections, so the grass is starting to green up a little bit. But the best thing is pretty much all the snow's gone, so that's always the biggest excitement around here when the snow leaves. You can see out here in this pasture where we got these bulls that the grass is starting to come up though. Looking pretty nice and green out in here. I wasn't really expecting to run into some snow on the road. Luckily, it was just fine getting through here. Drug the plow a little bit, but we made it fine. I don't think I would have made it much further though. If I needed to go any further, probably would have had to unhook the side-by-side, or who knows. Might even take a snowmobile to go much further, because would sink down in that snow once it got soft. So I know some of you have been watching the channel for a few years, know where I'm at. But for any that are new or didn't see any of those videos, so these are our cattle association's corrals. So I've explained this in the past, but like I said, if you haven't watched or don't know what I'm doing up here, in the summer we run our cattle up on national forest land with about 5 other families. So about the first part of June, these 5 families, we all bring our cattle together and run them together up on the national forest. So we have them grazing permits, and this is our association's corrals. So about the middle of October, first part of October, we'll do a big roundup and try to gather as many cows as we can, and we bring them into these corrals here and sort them off, you know, by ownership. That's why we've got all these different pens, and then a big holding corral up here. So what I'm doing today is we've slowly been moving through the old corrals and replacing the old wood corrals with the pipe, these railroad ties and oil filled pipe. You know, you can see here we got railroad ties and then oil filled pipe attached to it. So up here further is still some of the older corrals are just wood rails and whatnot. So we're just trying to get a measurement on how much more material we need to finish replacing all that older stuff up there. So that's what I'm doing here this morning. That's why I brought my tape measure, and just going to figure out how much more materials we need. So last year I wasn't around to help with the section they did last year, but you can see what we're replacing. Just this old pole fence, and then it's been scabbed together with panels. So it looks like we got about to there. With this one last year, same thing, they got about to here. So we got this whole section to do, that whole section back to the pine tree. Then we'd have to do that corral eventually, that pen there, and the fronts here. So there's still a fair amount to do. Good thing the snow's nice and hard this morning. Makes for some easy walking. We got that all measured out. Now let's head back down towards home. I'm gonna stop at Randall's place on our way back home and just walk out through the fields and see what they look like. I'm hoping, like I said, I'm hoping things are dry enough to start dragging the fields again after all that rain and snow we got this last weekend. We were lucky enough last week in that last video that we were able to finish pretty much all of our place, at least over there on the Wyoming side, dragging the fields. Because between having myself, my dad, and my brother going, we were able to knock that out. So we're ready to move down to Randall's and get going on his stuff. Just have to stop and see how it's looking. Yeah, it's a little wet. The hay ground, at least right here, seems a little wet still. You kick open some of these gopher mounds and you don't have to dig too far, and you can ball up the dirt, soil. But at least with that big harrow that we have, you don't want things to be too dry, because it doesn't have any down pressure besides the weight of all them bars. So if things get too dry and hard, it has a hard time breaking up these gopher mounds. But I think this might be just a tad bit too wet still. But maybe by this afternoon it might be ready to go. But while we're down here, we also wanted to drag the pasture piece. So if you guys remember from earlier this winter, when we were feeding our cows down here out of Randall's hay sheds, we were feeding out here. I don't know how well you can see that line of willows right there. So that's where that spring is, that doesn't ever freeze. And we fed in that pasture piece there. So we'd like to go in there and drag it and drag this one. There's another pasture piece. I don't know if you can see that house way back there. There's a pasture piece over there, and I'm sure that would be ready to go because it's just grass. I guess eventually also I'll be able to take this plow off. I sure hope we don't need it again this year, or until this coming winter.
Like you got a lot of friends.
just like that, another winter comes to an end. Morning, everyone. So I'm just on my way back from Afton. Ran up there this morning to grab our seed that we're going to plant through this no-till drill. And I got some that we're going to plant conventionally also through the bigger drills. But I just grabbed it all at once just so we had it. I didn't end up recording much more last night. I just was on that tractor probably close to 6 hours by the time I finished that field. And by the time I got done, it was late, and just went home after that. Then this morning I just got up and ran to Afton and grabbed this seed because it's supposed to start getting some storms this afternoon, and wanted to get the seed in under the machine shed out of the rain and get going on some more farming this morning, see what we can get done before this rainstorm hits later. So when we get back to the yard, I'll get off and explain to you guys what we got and what our plans are with it. So we've got about 8,000 pounds worth of seed here. So we're planning on planting about 80 acres into this 3-way and 4-way mixes. So we bought 4,500 pounds of the 3-way mix. So that's going to be this tote. I believe this tote here is the other one. It's the 3-way, 3-way mix. Then these other 2 totes here are the 4-way mixes. So I know I've explained this in the past, but the 3-way mix, all it is a beerless barley, oats, and wheat mix. And we just plant it and cut it for hay. And the 4-way mix is the exact same thing, except for we add peas to it. So these two are gonna have the peas in it, and these ones don't have the peas. And I've also got some annual rye. So this is, I guess, technically Italian ryegrass. They only had 150 pounds up there today, but they're gonna get me some more. Because what I wanted to do was plant this ryegrass with the 4-way. And what our plan is, so we're gonna plant the 3-way mixes in the fields that are probably a little bit more weedy, in case we need to come back through and spray them. Because with the 4-way mix, with having the peas, peas are a broadleaf plant, and so if we wanted to spray like 2,4-D or something on that 4-way mix, it would just kill the peas. So we're planting the 3-way mix into the fields that have a bit more weeds in them. So if we want to, we can go back through and spray it with 2,4-D and kill all the broadleaf, like all the weeds, all the thistles and whatnot, and then that won't harm the grain mix that we're planting. And then we're gonna plant the 4-way mix down under the pivots. There's about 35 acres down there that we want to rotate. So we want to put that 4-way and this ryegrass down there under the pivots. At least that way we have access to water pretty easily. And then the other plan was, so we're going to plant 30 acres of 3-way down at Randall's, and then the rest of the 3-way is going out here on the Idaho side on that 10-acre piece where we fed at. So I haven't seen this no-till drill that we're going to rent from the conservation office, but I'm pretty sure when I was talking to them, they said that it has like an alfalfa seeder on the front, like a broadcast box. So what we're going to be able to do is, there's a grain bin, so we can put the 3-way mix or 4-way into the grain bin and actually drill the grain seed into the ground. And then there's a broadcast box on front of the bin where we can put all the grass seed and then broadcast the grass seed on top of the ground. Because with the different types of seeds, you want different planting depths. And so with that grass seed, you don't want to go very deep in the ground. It's just barely, a 1/4 inch, just enough to get a little bit of dirt cover over it. But you don't want to go very deep, because it's such a small seed that if you went too deep with it, it wouldn't get the chance to grow back up. But with that grain seed, you want to be an inch or 2 down in the ground. so that's why you want to plant them at different depths. And with that no-till drill, apparently you have the option of doing both at the same time, so we'll be able to plant our grain seed and plant the grass seed at the same time. So now that we've got our seed, we're just waiting on the drill. I'm next in line for it. Looks like one of our neighbors has it, and when I went up to Afton, I seen that he was out there planting with it this morning, so we might get it today. I'm not sure, but like I said, with the weather coming in this afternoon, I doubt we'll get a chance to plant anything today or the next couple days. We'll just have to see how much it rains and how muddy things get. By the way, we still got plenty of other stuff to do today. I'm gonna go head back out here and grab that tractor I was on last night with the groundhog and just do one final pass over here on this 10 acres where we fed the cows all winter. I just need to go over some of the rougher stuff once more, and I'm just going to run the groundhog on it because it's got the cultipackers and the spring teeth, you know, the S-tines to dig it up a bit more, and we got the roller behind it to kind of flatten out everything else. And because we've already moved the harrows, the big 36-foot harrows, down to Randall's, and that's where my dad was working last night, so they're already down there. So I'm just going to hop on the side-by-side here, run over there across the bridge on the Idaho side and grab the groundhog and do that little piece there that we have left. And later today, believe it or not, it's time to turn the bulls in. We're a few days early than where we normally are at, but they ran out of hay. Well, they ran out of hay today, so we didn't want to put another bale in there just for 2 days, because 2 days from now is the 25th of April, and that's when I usually turn them out. So we'll just be going in 2 days early just for the convenience of it. So this was a field that I was up late working on last night. I was able to get it finished before this morning. I think that worked up pretty good. We were pretty borderline yesterday when we got going. Still just a tad bit wet, but it wasn't wet enough to keep us from getting on it. All right, well, I got that little 10 acres smoothed up. I think the best it's gonna get. So now I'm gonna head out and we're gonna feed the cows real fast, just to try to get them preoccupied as we bring the bulls up. Then once the cows are fed, my brother's coming down, my dad's here, then I'm here also. We're gonna see if we can't herd them down my lane by my house and then over and across here to where the cows are at. What are we doing, Jake? Cows.
Ooh. Ooh, cows. Yep. Come on, bulls. Come on, bulls. Come on, bulls. Run. Hey! 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 On! Hey! On! Get out of there. Fighting suckers. Hey! 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 Yep. Hey! 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 Well, that went about as good as I was expecting. I don't know what it is with these bunch of bulls that we got, but they're sure a bunch of fighters. We didn't even move them 50 feet. They were still in that same pasture and they started fighting. So if any of you guys have some tips and tricks on how to move bulls, I'd be willing to listen. At least try to keep them from fighting so much.
Well, that rain shut us down last night, but sure turned into a nice, beautiful morning this morning. This seemed like a pretty good place to end this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and thanks for watching. Have a good day.